This program features live coverage of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised.
Good morning and welcome to Djuma Properties, Sabi Sand's Greater Kruger Park on our sunrise safari. My name is David Hancock and on camera we have Alex, and we are following lions this morning. The Nkuhumas made a kill on quarantine last night and it looks like they've marched off in this direction. So we're going to see if we can follow up, see if we can show you a couple tracks on the ground here. I'm just going to pull a little bit to the left and point with my foot at the tracks here on the ground. So that's what we're following. There are hyena tracks, but there's also little lion cub tracks and the females tracks. So this is what we're following this morning. I think it was an impala that they ate. I'm going to maybe go back there and investigate, see if we can find what they ate. But two small meals in a row, and that's probably the reason why they've moved off. One warthog and one impala is not a lot to feed those big girls and those cubs. If they had caught something bigger, say a buffalo for example, they would have still been there. But impala was just another appetizer, so they've moved off, and let's hopefully see if we can catch up with them. And that is our plan for the morning. More lion tracking. And remember, kids watching, first 45 minutes is for you, so remember to send in your kids' questions. We love hearing from you. That's kidsquestions@wildearth.tv. Ooh. Well, we are following lion this morning, but this is just absolutely magnificent. We're going to have a quick look before we send you over to Ngala. This is just too beautiful. Before you leave us, we want to show you this magnificent sunset. Sorry, sunrise. With the wildebeest and zebra to the right there. How beautiful is that? And just 9 hours ago there was chaos here, lots of roaring and all sorts of drama as those lions killed and ate that impala. And just a few hours later, all peaceful in the same place. That's the bush. Well, this is not the only beautiful morning, not the only place where we're having a beautiful morning. Let's send you over to Ngala and see what they're up to.
A warm welcome to all the kids from around the world. We're currently at andBeyond in Ngala. So I'm going to be your ranger today. I'm Nikki. And then with me on the camera is Owen. But I just want to quickly move because we found quite a few special animals. We just repositioned the vehicle. There we go. So just have a look. Right in front of us here. We have quite a few elephants that have just moved across the road into this area right next to us. And it's such a cool morning. Wow, we had quite a big discussion about it. And I think for the elephants as well, they probably won't be heading down to water anytime soon. They'll probably just be feeding in this area. And eventually, as it starts warming up later on, they might start heading down to the water. But look, Owen, on this side, just to the right of where you are now, there's one actually coming out towards the road. So I'm just going to lower my head so you don't see my big head in the way. But there we go. Have a look at that. there's a baby walking in the back. So if we give it some time, we might just find them like coming a little bit closer over to the road. Be able to see all of them. Okay, the baby's going to cross the road soon. Just have a look. There he goes. Now I wonder if this is maybe the same herd of elephants we had around the camp last night. So as we went to bed last night, we could just hear like elephants moving, breaking branches behind the lodge, as well as you could hear the low stomach rumbling like as they communicated with one another. Alright, if she decides to come a little bit closer, we're going to give her some space. Alright, hold on. There we go. She just wanted to cross over. But the biggest thing what we're trying to do is especially with the whole herd moving like this, and there's quite a few youngsters around, we don't really want to disturb them at all. So as soon as they get closer to us, we'll just move away so that they can carry on with their normal behavior. Kobold, I do agree with you. Baby elephants are really, really adorable. And especially when they're so young and they don't know how to use their trunk, or even when they try and flap their ears, and it's quite an amazing sight to see. What I'm trying to do is, so I did see what looked like there was quite a few elephants right in front of us. So we'll just see where this one disappears off to. And then from there we'll try and see if we can get the rest of the herd again. It's amazing how an elephant that size can easily disappear in the vegetation like that. Look at that. Already gone. So let's carry on. Just bear with me a couple of seconds here. Dave, that's a really good question. I think, especially with the babies, it all depends. I mean, for them, when they're very young, so almost up to 6-7 months, they don't really eat a lot of like grassy material. They suckle quite a bit, and they can suckle quite often, maybe like every 2-3 hours, possibly maybe even longer before they need to suckle. But they'll need to drink quite a bit of milk in a day, and it's only once they get to over a year where they really have to rely on a lot of the material around, but they'll still suckle for up to 2.5 years before they're completely weaned off of the mom's milk. So from there on, going forward, like the rest of the herd, they'll slowly, bits by bits, feed literally the whole day. So we're just going to do a wider loop. So I saw the rest of the herd going in this direction. You can see there's a few Impala as well. So now sometimes in the winter time, if elephants move through an area, you sometimes also find that Impala or Ngala would follow them, because as the elephants are feeding at the top branches, they're dropping some of the leaves that the Impala might not necessarily get to, and then the Impala go and pick it up. So I just want to quickly stop here to show you the Impala. So the elephants just they've moved behind where they are now. But I wanted to show you something interesting about the color of this Impala. So you know it's a very cold morning if they look like they have a dark reddish back. Oh, they are moving away from us. Just have a look at that. So you'll see they have a very dark colored back, and the reason for that is because it's cold, they actually puff themselves up. So you know, like humans, we get goosebumps. And so if they get something that's quite similar to that, it looks like that, where they puff up their hair to trap some of the heat. But you can see it's a really cool morning this morning. All of them are moving in the back. Now there's a good chance we might find. So we're going to try and see if we can get another view of this herd of elephants. I'm hoping that we can get another one, especially those babies. But while we do that, let's send you across to David, who's looking for some lions. David, the best of luck. I hope you get them this morning. We'll also try for some lions later on. But I'd love to see that pride.
Well, thank you. I hope we get them too. We are hot on the tracks. Can move nice and quickly because we're on a open road, and there's the whole pride. So about the easiest thing to track is a big pride of lions with youngsters, because there's all sorts of footprints. Tracking one line is difficult sometimes when the ground gets a bit hard, but when you're tracking a pride, someone's bound to step somewhere soft where you can see it, especially in the road. So we are just going to carry on. Let's see how far we get. Hopefully they haven't crossed out before we catch up to them. Gina, you've asked, do lions eat the brain? That's a very good question. It very much depends on the animal, Gina. They would absolutely love to eat the brain and organs of anything that they catch because it's highly nutritious. But they would battle to get into the brain of a buffalo per se, because it's housed in that thick skull that they wouldn't be able to get through very easily. But if it's a younger animal like an impala, smaller animal, sorry, especially a younger impala, they would be able to crush that brain, or crush the skull and get to the brain. I think you might have seen Hukamuri doing that last night, that big male leopard. So they will and do eat brain if they can get to it. Like a little bit of a specialty, hey? Leah, you've asked, why do big cats attack from the back instead of the front? Well, depends on the species they're hunting, and I suppose what opportunity presents itself, Leah. They don't always attack from the back. Sometimes they'll attack from the front. I suppose the majority of times would be from the back because the animal's running away from them. So they end up grabbing it from the back. But a lion will grab its prey from any side that it can manage, and it generally tries to get to the throat, neck area and bring it down. Just saw the tracks split here. I'm going to have to figure out which way they went. John Rue asked, why does the big male lion always eat first? And that's because he's the biggest, he's the strongest. And even though in his instinct he needs to protect his pride, protect his brothers, protect his offspring from other lion, he knows that the only way he stays alive is to be strong. And he'll always make sure that he gets enough meat and enough food, because if he doesn't, then he can get weaker and he can lose his condition, and then he might even lose his position in the pride. So unlike wild dog that actually seem to almost be so self-sacrificing that they bring meat back to their pups, and they always want the youngsters to eat first when the youngsters start hunting. If there's an injured or a lame wild dog, they look after it, make sure it gets fed. Lion are a bit different. Lion are a little bit selfish in a way if you watch them. Those big male lions will often snap at their young cubs by trying to get meat. It's just animal instinct with lion. When it comes to meat, then it's kind of a free-for-all. And the biggest lion gets the lion's share. Well, we're just going to continue following these lion tracks. Hopefully we can catch up to them. But in the meantime, sounds like Tristan is out and about. Let's send you over to him to say hello.
Indeed, we are out and about. We had to sort out a few things with Rusty. Otherwise, I don't think we would have made the end of the drive. And so we're only just getting going now, unfortunately. But at least it allowed us to have a beautiful view of these wildebeest and zebra that are on quarantine with the sun rising. You can just see this... just see the wildebeest kind of standing below the sun there, and it was nice just now. It was sitting down and it stood up and this puff of dust came up, and the dust was just highlighted by this beautiful yellow sun that was behind it. So it was a very, very, very pretty, and I was hoping the dust would stick around, but there's a bit of a breeze blowing and so you can't see it. But now when it's walking, you should see little puffs of dust coming up from the feet. Might be a little bit tricky to actually see it now that it's moving away from the backlighting area. But nice way to start. We are on our way to Chitwa. We're going to go try and see if we can find Kuchava and the cub with the kill. And before we do all of that, I suppose I should say good morning. As David mentioned, my name is Tristan. On camera I've got BK. Hello BK. Sleep well? Excellent. Good, well done. It's quite a fresh start to the day, and I, for some reason, decided to wear shorts. I'm regretting my decision already, but it's the way it goes. These things happen, and we'll be all right. The sun's coming up, so it'll be okay. But yeah, we're going to head to Chitwa. We're going to hope that those leopards are still there. I'm excited because I haven't seen Kuchava's new cub, not Ned, so I'm going to go and try and have a little bit of a morning with them. I was hoping to get there for sunrise because I think it would have been beautiful if one of them was in a tree with the sunrise, but like I say, we had a few little issues and so we had to sort them out, and it means we're getting going a little bit later than I would have liked, but it's okay. We'll figure it out. I believe Dave's on the tracks for the Nkuhumas, which I can see all over the place here, so hopefully he'll find them. Katie, age 11. The answer to that is a resounding yes. My car has broken down numerous times while on game drives. All kinds of different things, from computer boxes to steering rods to brake cables, clutch cables, viscous fans breaking, all kinds of different things that have happened. I've had some very funny incidents with these things. Most of the time you have a breakdown, though, it will be when you've got some sort of dangerous animal nearby that you don't really want to be there when you're trying to fix a car. So when you when you break down and you've got prides of lions or you've got a leopard sleeping right next to you, it's never the most fun thing to do. I remember the one time I had a breakdown. Well, not a breakdown. I actually got 3 punctures in a row, and we were right next to a pride of lions. It was the breakaway Salala pride, and we had to change all 3 wheels within about 5 meters of a pride of lions. It was not very easy at all. We basically got out on one side, so put the car between us and the lions, changed the 2 tires on that side, and then drove the 3rd tire, which was flat, pretty much off the rim, to give us a bit of distance so that we could then change the 3rd one out and give ourselves what we needed in terms of space. So that was a pretty interesting, but it took a while because we had to wait for others to bring us tires, because on these vehicles we only carry 1 spare. So we had to wait for 2 other cars to come and bring us a spare, and then change them, get them fixed, and then take those tires back to those people. It was a long day. It's a fun day and a nice story to tell later in life. Now, just want to get up here quickly. Andeka, sorry, can you just repeat? I missed what you just said. My ears are still cold. I need to get some earmuffs. All right, I'm going to carry on down towards...
So we just found the rest of the herd again, And look at the little one just running back to the rest of the herd, like in the middle. I think mom probably split up from mom and just quickly running back to get to mom. So we just want to have a look where they're heading off to. So they've just crossed the area that so there's an open area off to our left, so they crossed over and they're on the right hand side now. But look at how that one is lifting up its trunk, so probably smelling the rest of the herd. Because elephants, especially with the herd, so even though whenever they call each other, the sound can go quite far. The other way of doing it is also just by smelling. So they are moving into the wind, and I wonder if the rest of the herd hasn't already crossed, and that's why those are moving in that direction. It's just only the one that's left now. Oh, moving on. Now, I don't think we're going to get a better view than that. I'm just thinking for early part of the morning, what they'll do from here is eventually like feed into the wind until like it starts warming up, and then go down to water to go have a nice drink. But I think in the meantime, we do have a little surprise for everyone this morning. Or maybe I shouldn't say surprise, but we have something special in store. Now, Rowan and Sean have found something for us. So what we're going to do is we're going to head in that direction and see if we can get it. Now, it's such a beautiful morning in terms of the colors. Like, we're driving here, and if you look at the grass, there's quite a lot of golden tinge. The sun is rising in front of us. And what's quite nice about it is whenever anything moves right in front of us, you can actually see, because of the winter time and it's starting to dry up, you can see them kicking up the dust. But it is a very beautiful morning. So now, to give you an idea where we're going to be driving, so we're literally driving on the southern side of the river, so the big Timbavati River. We're going to carry on with this road and eventually cross over and then start heading in the direction of where Sean and Rowan have this little surprise for us. But it's not going to take us too long. I think at the most it will probably take us like 5 minutes in order to get there. But it is... Alright, let me not build it up too much, because you never know in the bush. You can say one thing and it often happens the other way. But this is definitely my favorite time of the year in order to do safaris. Yeah, it's nice and cool in the morning, but often the colors, especially with the golden light, the brown grass, and some of the trees the leaves are starting to turn quite yellowish and some orange. So it's a beautiful array of colors that we're seeing. So it's not too far, so just carrying on, and then we're going to cross towards the river. Now, there's quite a bit of elephant dung in the road. As we speak, you'll probably see them right in front of the vehicle here. And the camp where we stay is just on this side. So last night, they were probably meandering in this area, and that's what we heard during the evening. And also, just to keep all the viewers updated, so there's two other rangers. Eric, who's driving tomorrow, and and the age 4, very good question. I would say, if you look at an elephant, especially, so there's two things there's actually a few things, but so the tusks can be used as tools. So you'll find, let's say, an elephant wants to strip the outer bark of a tree, because sometimes in the winter time when the tree loses all its leaves, it stores all the nutrients in the roots or even in the outer layer of the bark. So the elephant would use those tusks as a bit of support. They don't really need it in order to push over a tree, because there's some elephants that don't have tusks. Some of the females, especially within this area, but normally with African elephants, both males and females have tusks. They'll use that in order to push the tree over, using their head and maneuvering it with their tusks. Other thing about the tusks that they can use it for is, you know what, shall I use a little example to illustrate this? So I had to take the blanket off my legs, but there were some elephants here during the evening. So I'd like to explain. Just want to make sure there's no elephants behind me. And if you look at this tree right over here, you can see the bark has been pulled off on this side. Now, an elephant can use the tusk by grabbing hold of it, and now it's trying to pull, but now the trunk is slipping over the tree here. So basically what it will do is take the trunk, grab it like this, and then break it off. And then once it's broken it off into smaller pieces, it can put it into its mouth and then maneuver it with the trunk to get this outer bark off, because that's what they're actually after. They're not after this as much as they're after this little layer right over here. So they can use it for that. Well, let me just put it out of the way. They can use it in order for, so if males fight with one another, they use the tusk for defense, more offense. And then, of course, the mother can use the tusk in order to defend the youngsters. So it can be used as tools or as weapons, both of them, but mainly tools. All right, let me put it in low range, because we're basically going over this ridge into the river. So have a look at how beautiful it's going to be. I can just imagine the sunlight coming down into the river as we speak. Go around. And even though I do constantly say river, so there's no water that flows here at the moment. It's a seasonal river, so whenever there's a lot of rain, then there will be some water in this area. So it's only certain times of the year where there will be water coming through, but most of the time it will be dry. And if you look down here, just have a look at how beautiful this riverbed is on this side. So sometimes very special just to be driving down and explore, because you never know what you're going to find. It's such a treat, because you drive and you're thinking, okay, what are we going to find? Elephants, you might find nothing, you might find a pride of lions, you might find a leopard, you just never know. So then often by driving a riverbed like this, it's so beautiful. It's like a little mystery box that you can explore. But for now, let's carry on. As I said, we're not too far from where Rowan and Sean is. I'll probably just call them on the radio to get an update to hear if there's been any changes. Alright, so we're going to carry on. We'll keep everyone in the loop of what's happening, but while we do that, let's send you across to Djuma, to David.
Welcome back. Alex and I are still following lion tracks. If I look like I've grown 12 inches, it's because I'm propped up in the driver's seat. Normally I'm down here. And now I'm propped up just so I can see the road and see the tracks. Makes it a bit easier instead of driving halfway off the road the whole time. We are still following the pride. These tracks are not very old. I reckon a couple hours old. I saw an animal. I don't think it was a lion. I just want to check it out. So as you may have noticed, a lot of our mornings are spent tracking. No, I'm sorry, Alex, that was a tree stump. Oftentimes we get tree stump animals. We call them the fake five. Remember, you get the big five, the lion, leopard, buffalo, elephant, rhino. Well, you also get the fake five, and that's made of tree stumps and rocks, termite mounds, funny bushes that look like they have tails. Can't remember what the fifth one is, but there's definitely a fifth one. Ooh, I took my eyes off the road and now the tracks are gone. Where did they go? They must have gone into the bushes. Oh, I'm gonna have to backtrack. See, this is what happens when you take your eyes off the tracks. Hero, you're age 7. You've asked, how do animals sense that it's daytime? Well, I suppose the sun is the big factor when it comes to daytime. The sun controls it all. Not just animals here, it's also plants. It's all about daylight hours. So when the sun is up, things can grow. And when the sun is down, they slow down. I don't know which way these tracks went. I took my eyes off them and now they're gone. So I'm going to have to hop off the vehicle in a little bit. Okay, so here are the last tracks, and they go off into the bush there, so that makes sense. I can actually see where they walked. So what we're going to do is we're going to jump ahead and see if we can intercept them. They could just be in this block here. So let me just quickly go around and see if they do come out the other side. If they don't come out the other side, we know where they are. It's very thick. Don't think we can get a vehicle in there. So we might have to have a sneaky look on foot. Hopefully don't have a Steve moment. Well, while I try and figure out where these cats are, let's send you over to Swallow and get an update from them.
Good morning from another beautiful day in the Kalahari at Swallow Kalahari. Yandra, our cameraman, and myself, we're going to be taking you through this awesome landscape again. And it's just going to be great exploring, seeing what we can find this morning. We had -4 degrees last night. We had water pipes on accommodation frozen here. We had ice on our vehicles. So it was pretty chilly. We're actually sitting up on a nice high dune crest now where it's slightly warmer. But at least the air is still. There's not a breath of wind this morning. Yeah, so let's go explore. The meerkats are probably going to get up a little bit later with this cooler weather. So we're just going to amble around, see what we can find in the meantime. And yeah, let's have fun. Go explore this place. We got some giraffe close by to us as well. What a backdrop to those giraffe, eh? They're wondering why we're out here at this temperature. Like, yeah, well, I'm just going to carry on eating. Look at that landscape. Beautiful, eh? Can you see the giraffe tucked in away on the left-hand side in amongst the trees? Look how well camouflaged they are, even for an animal that size, eh? Pelashka, the horns on the head, or what we call ossicones, it's not so much used for fighting, but rather, you know, if their eyesight is exceptionally good. And if you look at a smaller animal like an impala or a springbuck, the herds always stay very, very close together, because obviously in thick bush, you know, they've got to be close together to be able to see each other and communicate. But giraffe, when you look at a landscape like this, okay, we've got a small group that are close together now, but they could be really spread out across this landscape. Because they're so tall, they can actually see each other from a long distance away. And those horns on top are actually a really good visual clue from a distance, because you know, the females, the top of those horns or ossicones are covered in hair. The large adult males, the dominant males, are actually bald on top over there. So even at a distance, one giraffe can see another giraffe walking a kilometer or two away and say, okay, there's a giraffe. Okay, that's a big bull. I'm going to avoid him, or I'm going to go closer. Or, okay, that's a herd of females, so I can move closer. So it's a really important visual aid for them. There's some other really interesting theories that have been put forward in terms of the way they communicate using those horns. Some really, some interesting, that has never ever had any scientific basis to it or been proven whatsoever. It's primarily a visual cue. And when they fight, you get the males actually wrestling or hitting each other with their necks, and they can hit really, really hard. And very occasionally those horns or ossicones can get damaged in that, but they're not actually used for fighting like antelope horns. It is a magnificent morning out here today. Not a breath of wind. Wow, this is why we love coming out here. I mean, look at that. Look at that. That is vast and wilderness, and just there to be explored. Well, Yandra and I are going to be defrosting a bit and grabbing a cup of coffee while we amble down the road over here. So I think head over to Ngala and see what the gents down there have got for you.
So just so we can show everyone what Rowan and Sean found this morning, I just want to reposition the vehicle a little bit. We might be able to see. Owen, I'm going to try and position like this. Yeah, do you? I might just move to, yeah, there we go. Let's just stop here. And then, can you, oh, there we go. See, we found the Ngala female and her youngster, the leopard. Now, the youngster's just moving into the back. Now, what we want to do is, we just want to give her some time, because earlier on, apparently, the mom was chased by hyenas into a denser area, and I'll show you now why she's been chased into a denser area. So we just want to give the youngster a little chance to catch up with mom, which is probably just laying down in the back. So what we're going to do now is, because you saw where the youngster has moved in, and it's pretty dense in that area, and also, as I said, I just want them to join up again. But what I want to show you on this side, so we're just going to move back a little bit. So see this beautiful tree that we have on the screen here? So apparently, the Ngala female has made a kill on an Impala. So I do think we also have a little video about it. So if some of the viewers are keen to watch it, we can definitely see if we can put it out there. So while we're going to carry on and just try and see if we can get another glimpse here, we're going to send you across to Tristan, who apparently also found a leopard.
We have indeed. I mean, not that we found it, we just came to a leopard, to be honest with you. It was David that did all the hard work yesterday and found this leopard. But it's Kuchava. She's napping in a tree with her Impala, taking a really nice sleep. There's a couple of hyenas around. We haven't seen not Ned yet, but I'm sure he's around somewhere here. Knowing leopard cubs, they generally are not far away from their moms and kills, so probably sitting on a mound or up a tree somewhere. Given that there's a few hyenas around, they generally will try and hide out. But she looks very uncomfortable, if I'm honest with you. She's got this horrible branch kind of under her armpit, and then her two legs are sort of squished underneath her with her tail hanging down and her paws kind of in the Impala's face. Now David is just calling me on the radio, so just give me 2 seconds. Go ahead, David. Go ahead, bud. It's not answering me now. Dave. Don't know why he doesn't want to talk to me. He was calling me, but now he doesn't want to talk to me anymore. Yeah, FM, but go with your message. Copy. So, like I say, she doesn't look very comfortable at all, but there's still a lot of meat on this Impala. I reckon she'll be here still this time tomorrow, which is wonderful news for us because it means that we're going to get, really quality time spent with her and not Ned. And it's been amazing to see actually how she's been on Chitwa a lot of late. I know that Trisha's had her, and I know James and Lauren also had a sighting of her, so it's good to see that she is spending time on Chitwa. It begs the question as to who's the father of the cub then, because her movements are quite interesting. She goes a lot into Cheetah Plains. I remember the first time I saw her with WildEarth, I saw her all the way on basically close to the Kruger boundary on Cheetah Plains, which is a long way east of where we are now and where Nkanyeni mostly walks around these days. But her territory has kind of shifted and moved a little bit, much like her mom's, and has come a lot further to the west. I remember when we first started seeing, when I first saw Thandi back in the end of 2010, beginning of 2011, she was dominant around in Koro, Cheetah Plains, that area as well. And slowly over time, she's just shifted further and further and further and further west towards Chitwa, and then obviously north and west into Djuma and Torchwood. And it's been interesting to see her progression is following her mom's in certain ways. She kind of just slowly drifts and comes back westwards, which is quite nice. It means that she's hanging around a lot on this eastern side of Chitwa, which is good for us because Chitwa is now becoming a little leopard hotspot in some ways, because you've got her with her cub, and then you've got Sabui with the two that come in from the western side of Chitwa. Now, Chitwa's not a huge space, so to be able to have two female leopards with cubs coming in quite regularly is really, really nice. And as winter starts to really take effect, it's going to be more pronounced because we've got Chitwa Dam, and that's going to be a water source for these leopards, and you're going to find that they're going to be pulled in to Chitwa a lot more. So we should see them nicely, and we should obviously get quite a few really decent sightings with the little ones, which is really nice. And it's going to be good if this little male gets a lot of exposure to vehicles, because young males have got to be some of the best cats to spend time with. A young male leopard is a curious creature. They are quite entertaining to watch, and if they're relaxed, they often provide really great sightings. They have this ability just to stay in small areas and generally have quite a lot of antics that they get up to and are nice to follow. I mean, if you think of just the young males we've had in the last few years, it's been really, really, really nice having them. So that's going to be good. And then, like I said, on Sabui's side, she's got a young male and a young female. So that's going to be cool to see them grow up as well in the area. So good things. Obviously the western leopards are providing us with all the females at the moment. So Tiani and Shitulu, they've got both girls. And then our eastern leopards are providing us with the young boys and girl. And I believe Thandi's cubs are also boy-girl, which is really cool to see as well. I'm so desperate to see Thandi's little ones. I really, really want to come back into Djuma. I think I've driven cheetah cut line more than I ever have in my time in WildEarth, just trying to see if her tracks cross, but nothing as yet. So Kachava, you need to have a word with your mom and tell her she needs to bring her cubs out, because you've been so obliging of late. Gina, you say you love leopards because they are very clever. Don't worry, Gina, I love leopards too, for lots of reasons, not just because they're clever, but they are intelligent creatures. The thing is that a lot of people don't think that leopards are as smart as people or as smart as elephants or hyenas, and while they might not have as sort of sharp a mind to be able to problem solve as much as maybe those creatures do, they are still incredibly intelligent. To live a life in an area where you've got a lot of dangers, so I mean, if you think of a leopard's life and what it goes through, if you start out when it's just born, it's useless, it can't do anything for itself, it relies on its mother, and pretty much everything can eat it. You've got snakes, you've got birds of prey, you've got other predators like hyenas, lions, leopards, that could all potentially attack it, wild dogs as well, and so it starts out so vulnerable, and then it starts to grow and it gets bigger, and so it starts to climb this food chain, and it becomes this predator that is on basically second to lions in this particular area, and it's able to live a life completely by itself and raise cubs as well as find food, protect itself. It's an amazing amount of intelligence to be able to survive and stay healthy and alive and protect and grow cubs in that environment under those conditions. So it really are amazing creatures. Now it is that time though where we are going to be welcoming all of you that are joining after our dedicated kids period. Kids, you are welcome to carry on watching and still send your questions through. We won't not answer them, but everybody else that has joined, remember, you guys can now ask your questions using the hashtag WildEarth or at FC on the YouTube chat stream, and we'll try and answer as much as possible. It's already a bumper morning. We've got, leopard up a tree with a kill. Nikki's got a leopard and cub on his side. Swalu in the Kalahari will just be starting to come out of their cold wintry night. I think they're probably quite freezing down that side. I saw the temperature this morning was -2 degrees Celsius there, which is not very pleasant at all. And obviously Dave is on the tracks for those lions. So lots going on this morning already. It's a bumper morning already. Right, we're going to sit with her. We're going to try and see if we can find her naughty little son. And while we do that, we're going to send you across to Nikki with his leopard and cub.
So unfortunately this leopard, or leopards, actually just gone and they lay down in a really dense area. So the grass is almost as tall as the vehicle, and they decided just today, the only thing you can see is a bit of the grass moving. However, we just want to quickly have a look. So apparently Rowan and Sean said there was a carcass, Impala carcass. There was, I don't know if it was hoisted up into the tree or maybe on the ground, but there were quite a few hyenas around as well. Let's spend some time in this area. Maybe there's a chance these leopards might come back up into this tree. If not, there's always a chance, maybe even later on, they might start moving out of that dense area and we can go and have another look. But for now, have a look at the colors of the sun on these hyena right in front of us. I'm going to try and see if we can get into a position. You can actually see them right in front of us now. But I just want to see, as we're slowly going, there's a beautiful Ngala tree. Now, apparently where the Ngala female got her name from, she was often seen up in a Ngala tree. And this is this tree right over here. So I'm just going to quickly stop so everyone can have a look. Now, I can't see any carcass in the tree, but it might have been on the ground. And I think that's why all the hyenas are right over here. But for now, they're right in front of us. Let's just slowly push towards where they are. Oh, and just let me know if you do see a carcass and I'm just missing it completely. Might be a little bit of sleep in my eyes, but I'm sure I haven't missed it. Let's just carry on. Now, it looks like the hyena in the front there might be feeding off something. I'm not too sure what it is. So let's just slowly get a bit closer. There's actually one laying down right in front of us as well. I think let's stop. Look, there's quite a few hyenas. Let's stop right over here. I'm just going to lower my head. So there's quite a few hyena. Oh, and look at the two at the back there. They're very playful, actually chasing each other. The ones off to the right there, those ones there. They were just laying on top of each other, biting each other. The one, look. This is very amazing to see. Like, often you don't really see hyena, especially when they get to like this age that they are as playful as they are now. Look at how the one has just taken the other one's leg. And it does look like the one that's closer to us. If you look at the back legs and also the tail, you'll notice that it's still a little bit dark. So it might be one of the youngsters, and I'm sure it must be even mom that it is having a little tussle with. Megan, I agree, it is a bite. Tumble. Like, just the way that they are having a go at each other. Like, and also you can see, like, normally with hyenas, they are quite social animals, but to see them like this, it's, to be honest, I don't think, other than youngsters playing, I haven't really seen any hyena this size playing with each other like this. So for me, it just shows you every day you learn something new, even though I've seen so many hyenas before. Just haven't seen something as special as this. Oh, I think they all just got a little frightened, but just have a look at how many. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 hyenas all together. And look at this youngster right over here, the one that's slightly off to the right, and the one's coming actually towards the vehicle. It's quite a bit smaller than the others. Crystal, you reckon if you played with your mom like that, you would have been left behind in the bush? I agree. Look at those two playing again. One just grabbed the one's leg. So normally that's how me and my brother used to play. It wasn't just always as peaceful. I think we gave each other harder bites, and I don't think we bit each other. Yeah, like these hyenas, have a little bit of tussle. See, this little one here is very, very curious. He's right in front of us. I'm just going to lower my head. I think he's so close we can't even get him in the camera. Okay, let me lower my head even more. But now I can't see him. Now what happens if my bum is out and he bites me? Because we don't have a door. Yeah, I think he's going to come off to the right. There he goes. So I know a lot of the viewers are probably wondering if this is the one that we saw maybe in, I think a few days ago, 4 days ago, the one that had a very beautiful smile. So this won't be the same. The area where we are now is quite far away from that area, so I'm just thinking this might be one of the other youngsters that are probably more likely to be in this area. There we go, he's moving off. But I do like the color of the sun on this particular hyena. Look at the golden colors and a little bit of white over the ears. And then have a look Oh, and at these ones right over here again, they're having another bit of a round or two in this bite, tassel and roll. Tracy, very good question. So with the hyena, with the airplane going over, you can see, especially the youngsters weren't too sure where it was, and so they moved off. But the other ones, they're not too fussed. They've probably seen it or heard it quite a few times. And so now, just carrying on with their normal behavior. Yeah, it looks like the one at the back is still eating something. You can see its head is in the grass. I don't know, maybe if it's pushing down on that carcass. You can see their bellies are, or that one's belly is fairly full. And if there was something like an impala that was killed by a leopard, sometimes the scraps that fall down, the hyenas will really battle to try and grab it. And I think that might be... So I think while we're going to spend some more time with these hyenas and see if the leopards come out, let's send you across to Tristan, who has a leopard up in the tree.
We do indeed. We're fortunate that our leopard hasn't been chased around by hyenas too much, and that we can still see her and spend time with her. It's nice when leopards make it easy, because they certainly haven't over the course of the last few weeks. It's been tricky going from a leopard front on our side. I mean, the guys up at andBeyond Ngala have been doing very well. They've had all kinds of nice leopard sightings. Especially that little Makoti male, he looks really cool. Watching a few things about him the other day, he reminds me a little bit of, I wouldn't say he looks like Hosanna, but just that young leopard male vibe that they put off, and curiosity and relaxed nature. So really cool to see him on that side. I think he's probably a firm favorite of a lot of you from that side of the world. But yeah, still no sign of the little one here. I'm sure it's lying up somewhere. BK said to me yesterday that he was using a termite mound not far from here. So I suspect maybe he's still sitting on his mound that side, while Mom sits on the carcass. It's quite common to see this arrangement with leopards when there's a cub and a mother, is whichever one is on the kill, the other one actually won't lie very, very close, unless, of course, there was some sort of incident where it chased the cub and mother up with the same tree very quickly. But normally what you find is if Mom is sitting with the kill, then she feeds and she does her thing, the cub will be somewhere else, and once Mom comes down, then the cub goes up and Mom will go and lie somewhere else. So you very seldom see these leopards in the same tree together at the same time with the kill, and it's definitely not feeding at the same time when they're up in a tree. I've seen them feeding on the same kill at the same time down on the ground, but never up in a tree. I typically find that they don't like doing it. They like to have their little bit of space in their feeding zone, and each one respects each other. But it's amazing to see how if she dropped down and walked off, that the cub would come pretty quickly to try go up there, especially in the case of Tlalamba. She was my favorite with that. As soon as Thandi would leave that kill, Tlalamba would be like a shot at that kill and feasting away. So I wonder if not Ned will display the same genetic from the same bloodline and go up and be the same way as Tlalamba. Kaylin, who's 10 years old and is from Ireland. Kaylin, you've been a source of much support in the last few days and weeks, which has been very, very nice of you. So thank you very much. You're saying it's so nice that we've got leopards again. I agree, Kaylin. It's nice to see them, that's for sure. Yesterday with Hukumuri was just, it wasn't an active sighting and certainly wouldn't rate as a crazy leopard sighting, but it was unbelievably beautiful. That sunset with that open clearing on Samambili and this leopard, and it was just pretty. And then when you went up into the tree, obviously with the hyenas below, it was just nice. And I actually said when we finished the show last night and we were driving away, we kind of drove around past the tree, and I said to Alex, it never gets old, the fact that you can sit within a few meters of this leopard up in a tree and it doesn't even pay attention to you. It's something that is very special about the Sabi Sands. And even now, we're sitting here with Kuchava and she's fast asleep, even with us talking, the car's here, and she's
no way fazed by us at all. She's pretty happy just to sleep there, and it's a kind of pinch yourself thing, and you sometimes forget how fortunate we are, because when you hear every day and you see a lot of leopards and you follow them, and you forget how difficult it is for a lot of other guides and a lot of other people that visit other reserves around Africa to see these guys and spend time with them. And recently I was in another reserve north of Hoedspruit, which is a beautiful place. It's a reserve called Abalana, and it's just recently been turned from a kind of hunting farm background, and they've changed it now into this beautiful reserve where they're trying to reintroduce a lot of the animals that were lost, and trying to kind of get the whole place back to what it should be. And they're really doing a sterling job, but they've got this incredible rocky outcrops that are down in the southern parts of the reserve. It really is probably some of the most exquisite scenery I've seen in South Africa in a long time. And I was just thinking to myself, the leopards on those rocks would be absolutely amazing. And when in the space of the 7 days that we were there, and we spent a lot of hours out, we saw leopard tracks everywhere, but did not see a single leopard. And the guys there they say that these leopards are around, and they see them every now and then at night, but they hardly get, prolonged sightings. It's just glimpses. And then you think about when you come here and how lucky you are to sit. And I mean, sometimes we'll spend, today is a day like that. It's going to be almost 6 hours of our day will be spent with the leopard. You realize then how very, very lucky we are, and how special it is to be able to sit with these cats, because if they don't want to be seen and they didn't want to be found, we wouldn't find them. They just would disappear, and would have the ability to do so. Oh, look at that. Doesn't she have the most beautiful eyes? She's got the eyes of her dad. And in fact, her face is like this cross between her dad and her mom. I really, really, really used to love spending time with her dad. He's probably one of those leopards that I miss most. He was absolutely beautiful and has the exact same eyes, and her general appearance is so similar to him, but there's a few features of her mom, Tandi, in amongst that as well, which makes her an incredibly pretty little leopard. I always like spending time with Kuchava. It's such a nice cat. All right, well, we're going to sit here with her. We're going to enjoy this beautiful sight of her up the tree, and in the meantime, I'll send you back across to David.
Well, during our lion tracking expedition, we came across this beautiful elephant, so we're going to spend some time with him. Just a solitary bull, enjoying some morning breakfast of salad greens. Listen to him as he munches that grass.
I'm also collecting diagonal.
Lovely morning so far, Alex and I, following those lion. And I hope we catch up to them. There's a good chance that they've crossed out. But it's all part of being in the bush. Spending time with this giant elephant is reward enough. Don't forget, we need your help to be able to be out here and bring this beauty of nature to you. Please follow that link at the bottom of the page and help us to stay out here and carry on doing what we do, bringing the beauty of this wildlife right to your home. Look at that ivory, those tusks. There's tools that he uses to break bark and dig and shred, and sometimes to fight. As he gets older and bigger, those tusks will clash with other bulls, especially when it comes time to breeding if there's a female nearby. And those fights are incredible to witness. Huge cracks like rifle shots as those tusks whack together and they push and jostle. For now, no fighting, just peacefully eating. Ivory has been a commodity for centuries. Humans have unfortunately turned it into something that became a bit of a currency, and they exploited it. But thankfully nowadays these animals are protected. Because I think we can all agree ivory belongs nowhere else than on an elephant. Safari Steve, you asked, do elephant need to feed more in the winter? And you are correct in assuming that the nutrition is lower in the winter, so they often have to get in more volume. Very interesting. You see what he's doing there? Why is he pushing that dead thorn branch? So that dead thorn branch has been lying there for a couple of years. Came off a dead tree above us that has been long dead, and it fell there. There's the dead tree. Looks like a dead knob thorn acacia, and it landed there. And what it did is it became a very important cover for a seed bank. Because that thorny branch was lying there, other animals couldn't really get to the grass in the peak of summer. So it became a bit of a seed bank. It was protected. And that elephant knows that. So what he did is, being the animal large enough out here to just move a branch, he pushed that branch out of the way and is now able to access that untouched grass that was below it. But he will return the favor to the bush. He will no doubt in his life push over many trees and break many branches that will then form other seed banks in different places. And those seed banks are paramount to the bush to allow the grass to regrow and rejuvenate in areas after the summer rains. Safari Steve, you were right in saying that the nutrition is diminishing, deteriorating now this time of year. You can see the grass is all yellow and dry. I haven't seen a difference in hours that an elephant feeds between winter and summer. Just to get back to your question, they always seem to be eating anyway. But I do believe that the nutrition content will go down in the winter, and they may lose a bit of condition in severe droughts. They often seem grumpier in the winter time, and a lot more relaxed in the summertime when there's fresh green grass everywhere. They seem happy. In the dead of winter, especially during a drought time like we've been experiencing the last few years, they do seem a bit grumpier, and maybe that's because they're hungry. Maybe they're not getting as much nutrition out of their food. Safari Steve, so interesting question and observation there. Vicky, you are noting the power of this elephant. He is absolutely the most powerful animal out here. Lovely spending time with this boy. We're going to move on, see if we can carry on with the lion tracks. In the meantime, let's send you over to Ngala, who have some hyenas.
So we're just following this young hyena. So it looks like it's going straight to under that big tree where the leopards were earlier. Because you can actually see there's a carcass up in the tree, and he's probably going to see if there's any scraps on the ground. So we're going to try and see if we can show you the carcass. It's really hard to spot, and it just shows you how well the leopards hit it. But if you focus with us, we're going to try and direct you. So if you look at that branch that's now leaning off to the left, carefully through it, you'll see it looks like there's these two straight branches going down, and those aren't actually branches. That's the leg of the Impala, and just above that, you might even see there's it looks like a very skew branch that looks like it's curling up. Now, just off to the right of it, you'll notice a little bit of blood, probably from the meat that you can see. Yeah, so it's literally in the dead center of the screen. So that's where the Impala was hoisted up. Now, because of 6 hyenas around the base of this tree, it might be that that mother with her youngster might just be laying in the tall grass until they eventually move off, or maybe even until later on when they get an opportunity, then they'll head back up into the tree. So for us, we have stopped at quite a bit of a distance, and then we'll just spend some time here and see if there's a chance. You look at how this one, I often believe that hyenas are probably the animals with the most patience. So they're just laying down, basically going to be sleeping here for the majority of the day, waiting for any possible scraps. Because I can also just imagine, as soon as that leopard gets up in the tree, if they can hear those claw marks going into the bark of the tree, up and towards the carcass, immediately their heads will be up, and they'll be like, okay, there's a chance we might get some scraps, and they'll start heading down to the tree. And the thing about hyenas are they're also very clever animals, and I also wonder, because of the fact that they also know if they're too close to the tree, the leopard might not go up, and so that means they won't get any scraps. So they'll just lie down on the side, just patiently wait. There's actually a youngster that have did a bit of a patrol, and he's coming back now. So I'm going to lower my head. Yeah, it's the one that's coming down from the tree. I think he just stopped to smell. You might just see him coming into the open here now. So he just came from the tree quickly, just having a look, investigate. Okay, there's nothing there. Let me quickly come back. It was so funny. Earlier on, he spotted a termite mound through the thicket, and he thought it was a leopard. And because he's still quite young, he just turned around and ran straight to the one that we had on the screen a bit earlier. Yeah, we're actually going to probably get a nice view of him as he comes past. See, I haven't really seen I have seen hyenas attempt to climb a tree. However, if there's a tree that is very near to the ground and it has a slope to it, so it's not vertically, it's more horizontally angled, and there could be potentially something on it, you might find that the hyenas could try. But I have never seen a hyena climb a tree, especially something as big as this Ngala tree. That's just, for them, they don't have the retractable claws in order to climb up the tree. But I'd like to know, like some of our viewers, maybe there could be some guides that are also watching in at the moment, to hear if they have had any experience where they've seen a hyena jumping from one branch to another into a tree. I'd really love to hear that. I've never seen it or heard about it even before. But what I want to try and do is, so I want to try and be as quiet as possible, and I want you to listen just to the noises and also hear what these hyenas are listening out to and how peaceful it is at the moment. So I'll be quiet for a little while. GH6, that's a very good question. So, pound for pound, the hyena has a lot stronger bite force than that of a lion. And also the thing about them is, so with lions, normally they'll eat as much as they possibly can, and they'll eat all the little bones. But hyenas have the capability of actually chewing and digesting something as teeth and very, very hard bones. So they do have a stronger bite force than in comparison to that of lions. And I mean, if you look at the head of this hyena, I know it's a little bit hard through the grass and that, but I would really like to focus. If we don't get a good glimpse of this one, we might just move back and see if there's another hyena. But if you look at the jaw, like especially around the eyes, you can see those cheek muscles are very well developed. So that muscles that attach the lower jaw all the way up into the skull behind the ears is quite strong. And because of that, all the bite force is very concentrated towards that central part, from where the eyes are, maybe from in between the eyes to the tip of the nose. That's probably going to be where the hardest bite force would be. But you can see a lot of muscles around the face. This one is just so tight, he doesn't want to lift his head so we can show everyone. And even though this hyena is laying down, and it does look like he might, or she might even be sleeping, it's hard to see if it's a male or female. I know Nandeka from one of the directors today. She reckons that this hyena didn't have any coffee this morning, and also it's a cold morning, so probably just having a lion. But what I do enjoy about hyenas, because I know we often just drive past them, but so one of the best things I think that happened in my guiding career is when I started guiding. So when I started guiding, I was training with one of my best friends. His name is Ruan, and Ruan is actually blind. And the thing is, every time we saw something, of course, you could smell it, you could hear it, but I could never describe it, or I didn't have to try and see if I can point it out, because of course he couldn't see. So what I had to try and do was trying to describe the animals to him. And so it was often quite difficult, because how do you describe a hyena? Maybe round ears, maybe a bit. And so the more I started doing that and actually looking at all the different colors, looking at the scratches around the face, maybe there could be a little scar around the leg, and by putting it all together, you're actually looking at a hyena for the very first time. And I know there's been a few guides that said they had the similar experience, where it actually just makes you realize all the little things that we often take for granted. And as soon as you start describing and looking more into detail, you can actually appreciate it even more. Because look at this hyena. If we just use it as an example, look at the different, if you look at the ears, especially the left ear, so our right on the screen, his left, you'll notice there's quite a few patches out of the ear. you'll notice like all of this tells a lot of stories. If you look at the head now, you'll notice there's a lot of grey around the ears. There's a little bit of white, and then if you follow the neck now all the way up to the back, you'll see how the spots eventually disappear into this golden ridge that's on top of the back. Have a look at that. And then towards the back again, how it disappears into a bit of white, and then these black spots. And so by doing it like that, you're actually gaining a bit more. Now, Anna Marie, you had a very good question earlier on. Does this clan have a name? Now, unfortunately, there's no name for this particular clan. So there's quite a few hyenas that we find on andBeyond and Ngala. And so many members that move in and about that we don't often see a lot of the individuals again. So unfortunately, we don't have any name for this particular clan. And if you would have asked me what particular clan was it, I won't be too sure. I know that there would probably be, from what we can estimate, around 3 or 4 big clans of hyena and Ngala, but we're not too sure. We're still trying to figure out exactly how their territories work and how many individuals would be in a clan. But we're trying to take as many photos as we possibly can and then try and compare them and get the spot patterns and slowly start to work it out. So I think while we spend some more time, see if those leopards could possibly come up into this tree, let's send you across to David, who's still tracking. Hopefully, we'll be lucky this morning.
Well, great news on the leopard. That is always a winner for the morning. Still no success on our side with the lion, but I think they're just down here somewhere. Unfortunately, that's a property we can't access, but I'm hoping they cross our path in the front here. It's interesting, when you're following tracks, you get very well aware of the different soil types. Soft soils are easy to follow tracks on, and then you get to a rocky patch and all of a sudden the tracks disappear, of course, because the substrate, the sand, doesn't leave any marks. And these little rocky areas are interesting in the bush. If you can see down here, all of a sudden there's just a patch. It's only 30 meters long of just rock. So what happened is, sometime many moons ago, there was a little bit of volcanic activity here that pushed very hot lava, or was it magma, up from beneath, and it cooled and it solidified into rock, and the different elements in it is what dictates what it is or what it's made of. So here's a nice example. This area has a little quartz outcrop. See this white rock, and in it it's got a bit of red. So this is what we call rose quartz. The red is an iron content. So often it's a little bit of a mixture of elements. Just thought I'd share that with you. It's always cool to see how the geology changes. At the end of the day out here, when you really start getting into understanding the ecosystem, it all comes down to what the geology is, what the soil is, the substrate. Soil types will give rise to certain species of grasses and trees, which directly affects the animals. And the soil comes from the rocks. That's all about this stuff at the end of the day when you really break it down. Well, let's carry on, Alex. I'm really hoping these tracks cross back into the property that we are on. Like I said, they crossed over into a property we're not allowed on, but let's see how we go. We're just going to slowly drive this boundary road and see if the tracks come over. Luckily we are now once again into some sandy area, so you can easily see the tracks if they were to cross. Adele, you've asked, do we document the offspring and the bloodlines of the cats? Most certainly. Sabi Sands, out of all the game reserves out here, is probably the most well known for doing that. I think they've probably been doing it longer than anyone. There's a lot of game reserves in the region, but none of them, in my knowledge, have such an in-depth and historic bloodline, family tree you could call it, of the big cats. And that makes it nice. It's nice to be able to understand dynamic. It really actually allows one to study and learn family dynamics in big cats when you know which cats those are. You understand pride dynamics, coalitions, takeovers. And then with the leopard, of course, very interesting to understand how dynamics work between mother and their cubs, male versus female cubs, home ranges and territories of leopards that change as the leopard numbers in the area change and develop. It's a lovely thing that people have spent so much time and effort into documenting these cats. Well, it sounds like a spotted cat morning speaking about leopard dynamics, so let's send you back over to Ngala with their hiding leopard.
So we just came under that Ngala tree just to see if there's any other signs of the leopards around, but it just seems like we can see the carcass up in the tree, but the leopard is still laying down in the grass right next to the tree. So unfortunately didn't decide to come out yet. I've asked Owen if he wanted to clear the grass around the leopard. He's not guaranteed, he doesn't want to do that. I understand why. No, I'm kidding. So the leopard has gone and laid down in quite a dense area. So what we'll probably do from here, because of all the hyenas around, I know the leopards, they do know the Impala is right over here, so there's no rush for them to head back. We might even then eventually go do a bit of a loop, see if there's any signs of some lions in the area, possibly some of the other amazing animals as well that we find in this beautiful area. And then from there on, we can always come back and see if there's any other signs of the leopard up in the tree. But at least we know the Impala carcass are right over here, and the hyenas won't be able to get to it. So the only ones that will get here is the leopard. Now, what's going to be interesting though, so a few times it has happened before, so I want to actually just take the map in order to show you. Sasha, age 6, that's a really good question. So the reason why they do climb trees is so sometimes on a very warm day, it's once they get up to the top, of course, if there's any lions or any other predators around, they can actually spot it from the top. They can use it as a vantage point. But in the winter time, they do drag the kills up into trees. And the reason being is because they don't want the hyenas to steal it. As soon as it's on the ground, lions could steal it, hyenas could steal it, possibly jackals could even feed off of it. Other males, leopards could possibly steal it. So by hiding it up in the tree, you'll also notice, like with the tree having a big canopy, that the vultures won't be able to see it. And if the vultures won't see it, then possibly some of the other predators might not be able to see the vultures and then follow up and come and find this kill. Now, on that note though, so we are currently right over here. If I had to, so this whole map of Ngala right over here, so north is there, south is here, east is there, and west is there. So basically, if I had to take this map, we are literally here, and then we are looking down in that direction. So the area right in front of us is, we would be looking down in that direction. Anyway, so right over here we're close to the river. Now what I'm thinking is, it has happened a few times where that young male leopard, that Mokoti male, often if he moves in there, or even that Timboti male, the more dominant male, if he moves into the area and he will smell this carcass, he'll probably steal it from them. So I think what they'll probably try and do is, with the hyena being here, they'll eventually later on come back up into the tree, feed as much as they can, and probably move on from there. Because the risk is, the longer they keep it there, the more chances that other leopards could possibly steal it as well. But for now, it does look like it's pretty safe up into that tree. What we're going to be doing from here is we're going to carry on a bit on the river, see if there's any signs of some lions as we go around. Maybe there's a good chance of even finding some baboons as we go along as well. And then, of course, giraffes, elephants, and if we can find more leopard, possibly wild dog, cheetah. I mean, all the animals that we could possibly find. There's always a chance as we go along. But as we're carrying on, hopefully we can try and see some of these beautiful animals. And what we'll also try and do is whenever a segment comes back to us, we'll tell you why we're heading into a certain area and what's the chance, and what could we potentially find there, because certain animals will be moving to areas that they do prefer. I mean, if we go into an open area, of course, cheetah, wild dogs could be something we're looking out for. If it goes into a bit of a dense area, possibly leopard, because they use it in order to conceal themselves, all the cover, nice opportunity to hunt. And then if we go more towards the river, there's a chance that we might find that lioness with the youngsters as well. So I think probably that's going to be where we're going to focus our search. Sorry, I know my cap is right here because the sun was in my eyes. But yeah, let's give it a go and see what we can find. At least we know where the carcass is. We can always come back here this afternoon, or maybe even later on in the morning, and see if there's been any signs of these leopards around. But for now, I think let's carry on with our drive. So I also want to hear from the kids. I've nearly forgot to ask this. So one of the things, remember a few weeks ago, I think it was nearly a month ago, we made fire with 2 sticks. Now, I want to know from the kids, only if you say yes. If not, then I'm not going to show it. But if you're really keen on it. So myself and Owen are pretty much addicted to coffee. So whenever we can have a nice opportunity to stop for a coffee, we always have coffee. But sometimes, have you ever thought, like, what happened if you didn't have everything you needed in order to make coffee out in the bush? How can you do that? How can you make a fire, but make it in such a way that you can make a coffee really quickly? Now, one of the ways is making something called a rocket stove. And that's just made out of a little piece of wood like this. And it's quite effective. So I want to know from the kids, if you are keen, maybe this afternoon around our kids show, I can definitely show you how to make that. But you got to send us quite a few requests, and you got to tell me that you really want to see it, and then I'll try my absolute best and get everything ready for this afternoon so I can show you. Alright, so at least I know Landeka from, who's the director today, she's backing me 100%. Owen says he loves it. When he heard coffee, when I said coffee, I saw his smile growing this big, or it was a little bit bigger than that. But anyway, we're going to carry on with our search, and while we do that, let's send you across to David.
Welcome back. We are on the Simbambili property. Just enjoying the scenery. Still no sign of our big kitty cat crossing over, but that's okay. We have had an action-packed morning by the sounds of it. Lovely to see 2 different leopard sightings. And I'm glad to hear that Kuchava and her little one are still nice and snug where we left them last night. I know we were a bit worried about those hyena that seemed to be stalking that cub, but like I said, that cub was on top of the world. Some very tall grass here. If there were a lion pride lying in this patch of grass, we would not see a single thing. It's like that movie Ghost in the Darkness, if you ever watched that. Tall yellow grass. You can just see a lion tail above it. That movie it's an incredible movie. it was about the man-eating lions in Tsavo National Park in Kenya in 1898, I believe, when they were building the railway from Mombasa to Uganda. When Uganda, can't remember exactly. And that railway obviously was manual labor back then, and these two lions in their prime started catching railway workers, and over the course of a few weeks they killed a few dozen of these guys because they had no protection. They would just sleep in their tents at night, and one after the other they started getting a taste for people, and they just carried on doing it. And they couldn't chase them, they couldn't scare them with sticks or stones or fire, whatever they tried. And eventually Colonel Patterson was sent out, and he ended up destroying the lions. But it was a terrifying ordeal, of course, to everyone involved. Of course, all the work ground to a halt. And it disproved the theory that man-eating lions are only old lions that can no longer hunt fast animal like Impala, thereby turning to easier prey like humans. Because these two lions were in their prime. They just became man-eaters, and that in other parts that happens. Quite terrifying. Watch ghosts. I remember kid, my brothers and I, we watched that movie. We went to a friend's house. Just to finish my story, if you can hear me. We're gonna chat to you a bit later. Let's go over to Ngala until my signal gets a bit better.
White-back vultures, and it looks like the one is sitting on a nest, but what I want to quickly do is I'm going to be quiet. I want you to listen to a tree squirrel that's alarm calling at these vultures. I know it might be a faint sound, but it's like a that you will hear in the background. It sounds very similar to a bird, and it has confused many of guides before, thinking that it is a bird call, especially when you're starting off in the bush. Now, just looking at this white-back vulture, so we are near the river now. So often this time of the year, it's when the vultures start nesting, and you can see the one off to the right. It looks like it's laying on the nest. And the nests are very scruffy built. You'll see it's just quite a few dead branches that are basically packed on top of each other to form a little platform for them to sit on. But also now early on, I think the one that's off to the left at the top, there's probably just moved all the way up to the top just to grab that early morning sun and warm up. And it's only once it starts warming up a bit more where these vultures will take up into the air and then start using all the warm air in order to get a bit of height. So what I'm going to try and do is, because I can still hear that tree squirrel calling, I'm going to move forward because I really want all the viewers to listen to this because it's a very interesting call. Now, when you're looking out for leopards or possibly even lions, this is some of the animals that you will be looking out for and hearing out for. So there was a very good question asked about the vultures, but I didn't hear it properly. I think there was a bit of a breakup in the communication side. So I'd like to hear again. Just stop right over here. So male age 11 there are. So this one here is the white-backed vulture. But there's 5 different species of vultures that we get here. So we get this one, we get the Cape vulture, then lappet face, hooded. I'm just trying to think off the top of my head. And then, so white-headed vulture. So I just want to point out, see, in this dead tree right in front of us here, on like half a meter up, off to the left, there's that little tree squirrel that called a bit earlier. So if you follow that tree, follow it all the way down, you'll see him actually going up on the side of the tree there. Oh, there's both of them, 2 of them. Ay! Oh! Gee, had a bit of a fight. Probably came back home late. I'm not too sure. Like, it was very interesting. Look at this one moving up again. It was so interesting to see the 2 fighting. I wonder if both of them might be males, or maybe it's a male and a female. Just want to quickly try and see if we can have a look. There they are. See the ones going up? Whoa. Ooh, they just ran up. Look here. Oh, actually dropped into the grass. Let's just give it some time. Yo, what a sighting. 2 tree squirrels fighting. We'll have to just give it some time and see if they go back. It's so hard to follow because, I mean, they're so small and they're just moving constantly. There's you know what I'm going to do? Oh, and there's a tree right in front of us here that they've both gone up. Okay, there they go. They're back on the big tree again, chasing each other. Okay, so now I'm going to try and, down again. So if you go down to the base of the tree, right there, okay? Zoom in there. Off to the right. We might see them coming up again. Okay, just keep it there for now. I'm just thinking like the one dropped off into the grass. They'll probably head up on the tree now again. Oh, there we go. Let me just see if they come. There's some movement behind the tree. Seabrook, I think the vultures would probably know, but I think they're not too worried about it. Because they're at the very top of the tree, they're out of harm's way from any potential danger. I mean, not even a leopard would be able to get up where they are now. And even if there was anything, they'll probably just be able to see it and then fly off from there. I know sometimes with vultures, baboons can sometimes be a problem. Some of the raptor bird species, or the birds of prey. So sometimes when they have nests up at the top, the baboons often go and steal the eggs. Oh, see the tree squirrels. Yeah, the one just jumped in across into that tree. There he is. Let's see if the other one's going to jump as well. See, that one's just waiting now. Look at how both of them are actually staring at each other. Imagine we can get that one off to the right where it actually leaps. Let's just have a look. Oh, both of them each other chasing each other again. There we go. Oh, off the tree again. I think while we carry on, I mean, that might have been my highlight of the day, seeing 2 tree squirrels chasing each other up and down the tree. But also those hyenas were pretty amazing. But let's send you across to Tristan with a leopard, and I think there might be a warthog. Not sure.
Well, not just with the leopard, Kuchava. We've just come back because we had to make some space for others. But we've just come back and there's an entire group of warthogs that are about to walk underneath her. And she's watching them. Unfortunately, the hyenas are lying so close to the tree that they've put the warthogs off a little bit and they've stopped. But the warthogs were going to walk directly underneath her. And it does happen that leopards will actually grab warthogs from a tree or prey from a tree. And so it's unfortunate that the hyenas are there in some respects, because even though she's got a kill, she would have still taken one of those piglets had they come past. You can see she's watching very intently, even though she's got a meal. No, the warthogs have run off. They've seen the hyenas and have started to move away. You can see them all trotting off, and it's not the big warthog that she would have been after. She would have been after all of those little piglets. You can see lots of little piglets there, and that's what she would have taken. But this particular warthog's done very well. How many are there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Did I count correct? 6 or 7 little piglets that she's managed to kind of raise, which is no mean feat. But let's go to a little bit of a better position for Biko, because it's difficult to film her from where we are. So we're just going to try and get into a bit of a nicer spot. But I have no idea where her cub is. Like I say, we unfortunately had to leave the sighting, so we've only just gotten back now. There was quite a number of other vehicles that wanted to get in, so we just gave everybody a chance, and we've just kind of moved back into the area now in the hope that we can spend some time with her. It's been a bit of a frustrating morning for us so far, between other cars and Rusty not being in tip-top condition, and obviously us not spending as much time with her as I had hoped for. But I'm pretty sure she'll be here still this afternoon or tomorrow morning. I think Dave will probably come here this afternoon. It's just only fair that we give each other all a chance to see all the various different animals, and particularly because he found it. Let's give him a chance, that's for sure. Sorry, Kuchava, the hyenas ruined your chance to have another meal. I thought for a second we were going to get another warthog kill, second one this week, which would have been crazy. Now, if that had happened, it would have been a very, very
Well, we've just stopped to have a look at some leopard tracks. They look to be none other than Komuri's. And I say that because it's in the area where he was spotted last night with his Impala meal. And he's obviously finished that. It wasn't a very big meal, so he's walked off. But those tracks are enormous. He's such a big leopard, it's almost like it would easily be mistaken for maybe a female lion if you didn't know the tracks too well. So very, very cool to see the direction he's headed. He's headed down towards the Simbambili Dam, so I think we're gonna maybe make our way down there and see if we can pick anything up. But a lovely morning to start with. Let's back up. And just to let you know, the problem with the vehicle, just vehicle, so we'll try and get back to Kuchava as soon as possible. Tristan's just seeing what he can do to sort it out. I saw some Franklin here earlier. I wanted to see if we can pick them up again. Let me know if you see them, Alex. It's a Koki Franklin. You hardly ever see them. I think it's our smallest Franklin we get out here. They've probably disappeared into the grass. But a very cool Franklin. They've got a mustard colored head. I'll show it to you on my phone. Unless you a birder, this won't be too fascinating, but like I say, it's not something you see often. A Koki Franklin, I hardly ever see them. I haven't seen them in ages. It's a very beautiful Franklin. I wanted to just come back and see if we could spot them again, but they have gone into the long grass. So that was our cool bird for the morning. It's always nice to do a spot of birding. That is a rarity. Ooh, look at that beauty in the long grass there. Let's have a quick look at the steenbok. You see it there, Alex? It's completely camouflaged.
Love. So this is one of the most amazing things, and I love showing people this. It's absolutely, it's kind of, you've got to try to get your mind around this. So those cliffs that we focused on now, that we're having a look at in the distance over there, those cliffs don't even exist. We have no cliffs like that on Swallow. This landscape is rolling dune fields. There are no cliffs here. What you're actually seeing here now is a mirage, and it's a particularly good example of one. We're going to pan across to the right a little bit later, and you're going to see like these, what appears to be immense bodies of water, but these also don't exist here. And what is actually happening here, that freezing cold morning, this bitterly cold morning that we've had here, you obviously get this super cold layer of air sitting against the ground, and as the sun has risen, it's starting to warm the ground itself. So that bottom layer of air right against the ground warms up nice and quickly, and then you get this it's what we call refraction. So the light actually bends, and that's what creates this mirage. So it's actually it's an optical illusion that we're seeing over there. And yeah, we've just been sitting up on this dune crest, and it is just spectacular. As far as I can see, in every direction, 360 degrees around us, the horizon's just becoming more and more and more distorted. It's absolutely remarkable. It looks like giant bodies of water. It looks like there's hills floating in the distance there. And you can just imagine how early travelers in these regions could very easily have been fooled. You know, if they're out looking for water and they're standing up on a high point and they see that early in the morning and say, okay, wow, yeah, okay, we found water, and they start walking and walking and walking. There's nothing. Kim, it is beautiful out here. It's as flat, and you know, when you see a sunset over this, or a sunrise, or like these mirages that we're looking at in the morning, when you see it, then you just realize how vast this landscape is. I mean, this is the kind of thing that I live for. I mean, it's great, eh? You know, and that's the thing about nature. You don't have to be seeing an animal all the time. Sometimes it's just appreciating the space and the wildness of it, and that's what it's about, eh? But the science of how mirages form is very, very interesting. And I would encourage you to actually... So yes, mirages do exist. And sort of a closer to home example that you can see very nicely is if you've had a cool morning and you look on a tarmac surface, you know, if you get low down on a tarmac surface, as the day starts warming up, you'll sometimes see what looks like small pools of water. That's exactly the same phenomenon that we're seeing out here, except this is just on a grand scale. And it always amazes me how few people have actually seen this like this. So this is something very, very special. I remember once years ago, I was driving in this region that we're in the Kalahari, and I was, myself and my wife, we were driving on this long road. There was not another vehicle in sight, and every single direction, as far as you could see, the entire horizon was completely distorted all around us. And it was like you're driving through some kind of weird warp. It's really, to try and get your mind around it, it's your brain is being tricked into seeing light in a straight line, but that light is actually curving, and that's what creates that impression of a mirage. But you must Google it, have a look, just Google formation mirages, and there's quite a science behind it. It's very, very interesting. So as it starts warming up, and the difference between the ground temperatures starts sort of ameliorating, it's going to, becoming very, very similar. The mirage is going to slowly start disappearing. I think we're going to head over back down to the Lowveld to Nikki and see what they've got that side. We're going to, as it's getting nice and warm here now, so hopefully the meerkats are going to be coming out soon and we'll have an opportunity with them. Catch you later.
So as we were talking about baboons earlier, so we just found a whole troop of them, but that's not the only thing that's here. Just next to them, on the left, there's quite a few giraffes, a whole journey of them. Or now, because they're standing still, a whole tower of giraffes just feeding up in one of the trees. Have a look at that. Now the whole scene is beautiful. Now it's hard to try and explain or capture everything that's happening here. So that's why we're going to try and let the viewers see exactly what we're looking at. So Owen, I'm going to try and focus from here. So we're having a look at these giraffes, and then if we look to the left now, you can see the giraffes on the screen there. But then from there on, if we look up to a dead tree on the opposite side of the river, you'll find there's a very interesting bird as well. So let's just get some time to focus on it. If you don't know, if you can see the colors of this bird, you'll notice like quite a lot of red on the feet and a little bit of red around the face. Blackish bird. It's called the Battaglia Ego, and it's sitting at the very top of the tree. So it's such a beautiful sighting. We're literally looking at baboons, giraffe, and this Battaglia all in one view. And there's also some Impala that's just moved into the scene as well. So what I might just try and do, so what we're going to try and do is, you can see the giraffes right over there, so we're basically going to go try and squeeze 30 meters forward and see if we can get another glimpse of the baboons and the giraffe, and then possibly another closer glimpse of this Battaglia eagle. So let's just move forward a bit. Say again? Yeah, exactly. So we actually started spotting more animals now because Owen and I had our coffee. Oh, look, there's some Impala that even rocked up on the scene. It does, now of course disappeared just behind the bank as we were chatting. It looked like two males that were chasing each other, but you can just see the one giraffe is just looking at them at the moment. Oh, there's another one that's coming. Have you noticed that one, Owen? If you can focus on that one's face, it's a very light colored giraffe, and then, but if you look at the face is pretty dark, like especially between the horns, like down towards the nose. There's a lot that's happening. I'm just trying to see if we can focus on possibly one, looking at one. Say again? Yeah, they are. I think they might be looking at the baboon. So Owen reckons all of them are looking in a particular direction. I think it's because of the baboons moving behind them. So look at all the giraffes now basically just looking in that direction. Now, if you are looking out for predators and you see the giraffe staring like that in a particular direction, there's a chance there could be possible leopard, maybe even lions around. Butterfly, I do agree, it is a very beautiful stripe that runs along that giraffe's face. And then I just wanted to quickly point out something very, very interesting. Now, I don't know if we'll be able to see it with the camera, but we're going to definitely try. So, Owen, you see this one, the two that are standing right in front of us here. So right in Megan, I do agree. Whenever they run, it does look like it's in slow-mo. And actually, it's pretty quick. Sometimes if they run, it does look slow-mo, but they can run up to 56 kilometers an hour. Now, if we focus on that one in the middle of the screen there, Owen, if you see the one that's now, looks like it's chewing. Now, with giraffes, if they're not literally feeding on something, they're ruminating. So that means all the food that they ate during the morning, they bring it up, chew it again, so it breaks it down a bit more, and then they'll swallow it. So if you follow the neck Just focus on the neck really hard now. You might see the food coming up into the mouth. There we go. So let's have a look at it. When they swallow, you'll see this. It looks like a big lump going down the neck into the stomach. And then when they bring it up again, you can actually see the whole neck moving, and it looks like a bubble from the stomach all the way through into their mouth. So I have counted this before. I think it was 34 chews and then they swallow. It's just a rough average. One day we were just counting it to try and see how long it would take. But if it stays like this, let's just wait for it to swallow, and then we'll wait for it to bring it up again. So as soon as it swallows, I'll say, okay, now. And then you have to carefully look at the neck. Try not to blink. Okay, now, have a look at the neck. Don't know if everyone saw that, but it actually came up a little bubble into the mouth. Yeah, I think the Battaglia Ego has flown off, but have a look at now, with that giraffe that we're looking at the moment, there's 2 oxpeckers. Or actually, there's 3 oxpeckers literally sitting at the top. So I know a lot of the viewers are pretty keen on seeing the rocket stove that we're going to make this afternoon. So I'm super excited. I'll try and collect everything, and Owen's also excited. He can't wait for that cup of coffee. We're going to really... So what we'll try and do as well is I'll show you some other techniques in order to make a fire. So without using sticks, I know some of the viewers the other day mentioned possibly use binoculars. There's quite a few different methods we can use. But we'll try and show you some little ranger tricks. So I do know, was it Emma that was asking a question about, I think so, Owen? So Emma was asking, I don't know if it's Emma, one of our viewers, or maybe one of the directors, she's asking if we can make a cake in the, so if we can make a cake on this rocket stove. However, we won't be able to make a cake in it, but we can definitely build a pizza oven using termite mounds. So termite mound, often there's a lot of clay in it, and if they're abandoned, some of the older tribes in the area used to take the clay, mix it a bit with water, and then build an oven, and then of course put a fire in it so it can cure. But I think with this rocket stove, just so that the viewers also know, so Emma, one of the directors, has promised the Ngala Rangers a cake. And she's, I don't know, how many was it? How many, Owen? Like 3 or 4 cakes or something. And she said she'll send it across. So just that all the viewers know that if we don't get it, just so that we lightly remind her. Apparently, Landeka reckons it was 10 cakes, so that's all good. Big cakes, apparently. So probably going to look like some of these wildebeest and impalas with the very big bellies. All these ranges. But it's just such a beautiful scene. I mean, it's hard to describe it, but like if there's any way of describing what we're looking at now, so just imagine we're sitting in the riverbed right now. The sun is on our backs. It's slowly starting to warm us up. And then we're looking down with the sun behind us on these giraffes. So you just see these golden colors. And then also if you look at the stripes of especially the giraffe right in front of us, you'll notice that it is very dark at the top. And as you go down towards the bottom, it starts getting a bit lighter in color. But for now, let's carry on. I just had a look. I saw Owen zooming out, and I didn't know he was zooming out. So I was sitting there like doing all this motion with my hands. But I think while we're carrying on with our search, let's send you across to David, who's found some buffalo.
We've just managed to locate on some buffalo. We were following their tracks for a while down the road. They kept leaving us big steaming reminders of which way they were heading. Just having a nice look at them. Those horns popping up above the grass. Look at the oxpecker on that one's head on the right. Nice perch in the sunshine. A red-billed oxpecker. You can hear those buffalo bellows. It sounded like a younger buffalo annoyed with something. They've got such a distinct bellow, buffalo. You can hear them for a long ways off. It's a very guttural that they emit, and often attract predators with that sound. Very wary, these buffalo. I think they must have smelled at the lion pride, the Nkuhuma, as it passed by this way. We're very close to where we left the Nkuhuma tracks, and these buffalo are extremely skittish this morning. They're not sticking around. They're very uncertain. I think they know the lion on here. Lion love following buffalo, one of their favorite food sources, because if they can pull down a buffalo, that's a lot of meat for the pride. It'll see them through a few days. They are very attracted to the scent and sound of the buffalo. Viewers are liking that impression. Thank you very much. Sometimes when I'm bored, I try and speak to the buffalo, but I can never quite make out what they're saying. Off they go. From the great big buffaloes to the smaller meerkats, let's send you over to Tswalu Kalahari.
So these meerkats really outfoxed us this morning. They'd shifted burrows yesterday evening. And so while we were up on the dune looking at mirages, these little guys were actually getting out of bed, stretching, I think with this cooler temperature but no wind. They were actually wanted to get out foraging earlier this morning, just because they probably were a little bit hungry from yesterday's weather. So there one runs out the back. But we've also, interestingly, at this burrow system, there's a couple of squirrels that have popped out here as well, including one youngster. So you can see the squirrel just sitting there. Squirrels and meerkats will often co-inhabit one burrow system, but they'll obviously not use the same chambers. So in other words, if you've got meerkats going down one of these burrows into a chamber, squirrels will be using another one. And there's not much competition between them, because your squirrels are your herbivores, so they're eating grass roots, seeds, whereas your meerkats are primarily carnivores. You know, they're eating insects and little arthropods, invertebrates. There's one squirrel still sitting at the entrance of the burrow here. That's one that didn't want to get out of bed this morning. There must be a huge advantage in staying together in term. Natalie, the squirrels are squatters. I suppose we could also argue the other way, that maybe it's the meerkats that are the squatters, because very often the squirrels will actually initiate a burrow system, and they'll start making the burrows, and then it's the meerkats that come in later and say, well, actually, we like this, we think we're going to live over here. So and the squirrels don't have much choice in that. So it could cut either way. But I think there's a big advantage, for the squirrels, although it might be, I don't know, maybe an irritation. So a whole band of meerkats is now pulled in and say, well, hey, we're going to take over some of these rooms in your house. But for the squirrels, just think of the benefit to them in terms of, hey, there's suddenly more eyes, ears watching out for danger. And if you 2 or 3 squirrels living together over here, you've got a lot of work trying to look for food, as well as watching out for what's going on around you. But suddenly, these meerkats pull in, and they are super vigilant. I think that's going to help you probably reduce your likelihood of something catching you. It's interesting that squirrel's not coming out yet. They're super used to us, but it could even be that there's something around here that we haven't seen yet. Although the meerkats trotted off, and they weren't concerned at all. I mean, they weren't giving any alarm calls. They were very relaxed when they moved off. Maybe it's just still cold. So James Richard has just asked, what is the size area that the meerkats will use? And that varies in a lot, depending on what kind of rainfall you've been having. So if you've had good rainfall, or a couple of consecutive seasons of good rainfall, the result of that is that you're going to get a lot of insect life out. So there's an abundance of food. Then their territory size will shrink. If you've had drought years, their territory size can actually start expanding. What is very, very interesting though, and what research has shown in other areas, is that the size of the territory doesn't depend on the size of there are cases, our meerkat groups, you're looking at an average of 8 to 12 animals, sometimes a little bit smaller, sometimes a little bit bigger. The largest group I've seen on Swallow got to about 22 animals. That's all together, adults, youngsters. But there are records of groups of up to 52 meerkats that have been seen. And what's interesting is that their territory size, or their home range size, actually doesn't vary. In other words, a group of 40 or 50 meerkats doesn't mean that they're going to cover a larger area than a group of 12 meerkats. And that's quite interesting, because you'd think, well, maybe they need to get more food because there's more of them. But there's obviously limits to the distances that any group is prepared to forage in. And, particularly if you've had good years, I mean, in terms of insect life and scorpions, I mean, there is such a massive abundance out here. Yeah, sure, you've got to work for it a little bit harder, you've got to dig deeper and that kind of thing to get things like that. But there is so much of it that these habitats can actually sustain large groups. And you probably find there's actually more pressure in terms of other meerkat groups in the area rather than a food resource. And over the next couple of days, Yandre and I, we're actually going to try to see if we can locate 1 or 2 of the other groups for you as well, which will be quite interesting. We're hoping another group called the Horses may even have had pups recently, which will be really cool, so that we won't be able to see the pups if they have had them. Remember, they'll stay underground for a couple of weeks before they even come out yet. But the fun thing there is that this group, the Mokalas, they actually moved from where they were yesterday. But if they've had pups, okay, they'll be anchored at one burrow system for a number of weeks, or just over a month, which will be really quite fun. So if we can kind of keep tabs on this group as well as another group, I think will be quite interesting to watch. So you can see in the far distance, the meerkats foraging there over the back of the burrows. Just see their heads sticking up every now and again. directly below the tree where the nests are. Christelle's just asked, why don't the meerkat burrows sometimes cave in or collapse in the soft ground? Unfortunately, they do sometimes, and there can be various reasons for that. When we look at the sand, okay, you tend to find that the surface layer is very soft, okay, but further down, and not deep. I've dug about 3 centimeters down now, and it's actually quite hard. It becomes quite compressed, and that's where they start being able to dig in and actually creating these burrow systems that don't collapse. However, if you get, especially around the entrances, if you get a large animal, let's say an eland bull can get to weigh twice the weight of an average horse. I mean, these guys can get to 800 kilograms. That's a big animal. And if a herd of eland had to walk over a burrow system like this is a much smaller burrow system than the other one that we saw over the past couple of days. They could very, very easily collapse the entrances to these burrows. One would hope that no one is trapped underground over that time. But again, that is part of nature. And they are incredibly good diggers, these meerkats, and I'm sure they must be used to these occasional incidents where a burrow entrance does collapse. So I think the chance of them actually being trapped underground and not being able to get out would be very, very small. So yeah, to answer your question in a nutshell, these can collapse absolutely, but I don't think it's a common occurrence. There's one burrow, a warthog burrow, that I've been keeping tabs on just out of interest, and that burrow only collapsed recently, that entrance, but that burrow has been active and used by various things for the past 12-13 years. So okay, but that's a big burrow entrance. We're going to head over to Ngala and see what they got on that side, and yeah, enjoy it.
So we just got a surprise for everyone. We were driving down the river, and I said to Owen, let's just go see if that lioness might have, or might be near the river. And look at what we found. There she is, and just off to the right is the little cub. Now the other one is a little bit more adventurous. He's gone and explored the deep, darkest areas of that tall grass, and just off to the right of where the mom's laying down. Our right, her left. I think pretty soon probably going to come down, but have a look. Just a little bit right of that, Owen. A little bit more right. You'll see there's some movement right. I think it's going to be right there. You might see the movement soon. I think he's on his way down. The other one is, of course, look at how Mom is just curiously waiting to see if this little one comes down. So let's see, as soon as that youngster comes down, we'll move or zoom in a little bit closer to where the mom is. But I can just imagine, because it was so cold, she probably just brought them out into the sun just to warm up a little bit before later on, as soon as it warmed up enough, she'll probably take them in. Look at the other cub. It's now moving slightly closer. Just look at how well they blend in. See, at this young age already. At a very young age already, starting to become very adventurous. You can see Mom is just carefully scanning the area just to make sure that they stay safe. And I don't think it's going to be too long before they eventually come back to Mom. So we'll have to spend some time here and just see. But look at how she's just looking back towards them, just making sure that they are safe. Now, for me, she's a very good mother. Even though this is her first litter, she just looks after them so well. Well, I can actually see them. So Oh, and if you look, see there's that dead branch that's coming out like this from this tree right in front of us. Just over that, there's a little, just over that, you'll see there's a little dark patch there. And there's some movement in the dark patch. Okay, it looks like they might be coming down again. You can just see the grass moving. Okay, here we go. So my thinking is, I can imagine now they've moved away, and now they're going to come back to Mom, probably rub up against Mom, just maybe tell her how the adventure was. But let's see. I mean, I'm probably jumping way ahead of it now. I'd still just be having quite a little bit of fun, just playing with one another in that tall grass. Victoria, that's a very good question. I would say, so normally, like from 2 months onwards is when she'll start joining up with the Pride. Now, the Pride have moved quite a bit north from where she is now. So they probably, as the crow flies, anywhere from 10 to 15 kilometers away from where she is now. And I think as soon as these youngsters can actually keep up with her, and possibly the Pride, if they do start moving, that's when she'll join up with the rest of the Pride. And it could happen anywhere from 2 months onwards. And I mean, these youngsters are not older than 2 months. So the chances are probably within the next, I would say, few weeks is when we're gonna see it. It might even be in a week's time, might be in a month's time, but it's gonna be soon. Yeah, they are playing a little bit of hide and seek with us this morning, just moving in the grass, probably just waiting for the one to make the wrong move before they just leap out and grab each other again. So often at that young age, they have this very playful behavior, but what they're actually doing is they're gaining a lot of experience. So by grabbing one another, pulling down, it develops their muscles, develops their joints, but also at the same time, that little bit of instinct starts kicking in. And it's so interesting to see. I mean, from a young age, they already know, like, okay, this is what I need to do in order to stalk. I need to be as quiet as possible, else my brother, or if it's a brother, or else my sister is going to become aware of me. It's really nice to see because you learn so much about their behavior. But I'd like to focus on, if we could focus on the mom again, you'll see how she's just enjoying that sun at the moment. So we are going to be spending some time. We might just try and see if we can reposition a bit the vehicle. But in the meantime, while we do that, we're going to send you across to someone, which I didn't get the name of, but I'm sure it's a little surprise.
Well, we've just made our way over to Kachava. Just as you came to us, you repositioned and it's not difficult to spot, but we'll move around to the other side. What is nice from this angle is we can see the hyena in the foreground, patiently waiting. Actually 2 hyena, one there on the left and one on the right. Patiently waiting for a scrap to drop out of the tree. That is a very big hyena. I haven't seen a cub yet, but Tristan told me where it was last seen, so we're gonna loop around there in a little bit and see if we can get a visual. Shall we start up and back up, Alex, and see if we can see it from the other side there? It's nice to see both species together, to see that interaction. Not really interaction, but it's more like waiting. Come on, drop me a scrap of food, leopard. There we go, now we can see a little bit more of her. She's got her backside towards us, but it's okay. Just sleeping on top of her food. Like when you're really, really tired and you fall asleep on your plate. Christelle, you've asked, where do larger animals sleep in winter? I'm not entirely sure what you mean by that. The animals that, perhaps you're talking about temperature and animal that would want to get away from the cold, but nothing changes between winter and summer. Animals that burrow, your warthog for example, will burrow all year round. Porcupine, honey badgers, animals like that, they'll always burrow. And the reason that an animal like a warthog, for example, burrows is more for protection than temperature. And the other animals that don't burrow will continue to do what they always do, and that's nap where they can, irrespective of winter or summer or temperature. I hope that answers your question. Back to this beautiful leopardess. Look at that tail, just hanging there. Oftentimes when you're driving through the bush, what catches your eye is that tail. The rest of their body is normally slumped over a tree branch and hidden in the foliage, but that long tail always catches your eye as being something out of place. She's got a nice marula tree there that she's put that Impala in. Yesterday afternoon when we followed this drag mark, the Impala was still on the ground at the base of this tree. Then when she came back, she hoisted it into the tree using her powerful retractable claws to hold onto that bark. If we go down the base of the tree slowly, you'll see, if you zoom in, marks where the claws of that leopardess has actually ripped the bark off as she climbs that tree, because that Impala probably weighed a good 30-40 kilograms. It's quite a lot of weight to have in your mouth while you climb a tree. I'll tell you when we get to the first mark. You zoom in a bit more, Alex, you're right on it there. That's where the bark's been torn off on the top right of the screen. And if you go up another couple feet, you'll see there's another 2 marks where her claws have ripped at that wood. There they are. And she climbs up. Well, we're going to slowly loop around and see if we can see her cub. While we do that, let's send you over to Swalu with their giraffe.
Gorgeous giraffe sighting, eh? Big adult female on the right, and a slightly younger female, and then two youngsters. So there should be another adult female somewhere in the area over here. We haven't seen it though. Look how cute those young ones are. These ones are about 5.5, 6 months old already. It's going on the size compared to the adults. And if you think the big bulls, I mean, they tower almost another meter taller than those females, than that big female there. I don't know if anyone's ever seen photographs of okapis from Central Africa. So Marcus asked, how far do giraffes travel in a day? Again, some of the meerkats, it'll be very dependent on food availability. So in an environment like this where there's lots of really good food available for them, they're less likely to travel long distances. Places that I've been to up in Namibia, like the Hwanab riverbed, these super, I mean, that's proper desert environments, and you get these riverbeds running through it, and they only flow periodically, but you've got these lovely strips of green vegetation, these big trees along these riverbeds. Giraffe there can travel long distances in order to get enough to forage. The furthest I've seen a group on Swalu moving during the course of, let's say, 12 hours is about 10 kilometers. That's a rough estimate. I'm just trying to think, like, from one area where I've seen a known group to another area is about 10 kilometers. So they're capable of traveling big distances. Oh, they're so relaxed, these giraffes. Yo. So that's also an adult female, the one that's just turned in now. So it's just the angle that she was at, I thought it was one of the young ones, but it's actually an adult one. James Richard, the smell of Swalu, if I had to describe it, is, let me think. It's, yeah, if you've been to Africa, those of you who have been to Africa, if you just close your eyes, just imagine it's that dry dust, that golden grass, the smell of grass, dry grass, the rain early in the mornings, of that moisture. It's just that unbeatable smell before a thunderstorm and just after thunderstorms. You get the occasional scent of animals. It's just, there's just so many different scents that assail you. It's absolutely sublime. It's difficult to put it into words. It's the scent of Africa. It's the scent of Africa. You could add in maybe a little bit of wood smoke over there. The smell of heat on rocks. It's just almost intangible, and yet it's everything about Africa encapsulated in a scent. It's just beautiful, absolutely beautiful. I wish I could put that across in a better way through what we're actually seeing, through the visuals. Well, I'm going to try to think of better ways to describe the scent of Swalu and the scent of Africa. And while I'm doing that, head over to Nikki with the lions at Ngala.
So as we're sitting here, the youngsters have actually come out and they lying just behind Mom as we speak. So you might just see their little heads just through the grass there. Have a look. Also just enjoying the sun. Now the mom has been yawning quite a bit, so often if she yawns constantly, it's a good sign that she is going to probably get up soon. So what we'll try and do, oh, bless you, she just sneezed. But I think what we'll do is we'll just wait here, because if she's yawning like that, it's a good sign that she's probably going to get up. See, another yawn there. And if that happens, it'll be interesting to see if she's going to go back or maybe move along the river with the youngsters. There we go. I thought after quite a few yawns, it's not going to be too long before she gets up. Nice little stretch. Okay, let's see what's going to happen with the youngsters. So, Aaron, did you get the question from Mossy, age 8? Ooh, how many teeth? I think the other day we spoke about, I think with the adults, it's 32 teeth. Possibly in between 32 and 33. But I'd like to, I remember we had a question about it a couple of months ago, and that was round about what we were looking at. But I'll definitely go and read up a little bit more about it, just to go and double check, because I'm not too sure. I'm leaning anywhere from 32 to 33. She's just moved right next to us now, so it'll be interesting to see what's going to happen with the youngsters. I'm trying to see if there's anything at the back. Now, early on, as we were coming down the river, we saw some kudu, and I wonder if she didn't spot the kudu. I just want to see where she goes. Yeah, so what we'll do is we'll just want to watch her and see where she goes, but if she does decide to move off and leave the youngsters here, we are also then going to start moving off, because we don't want to be here, especially if it's just the youngsters. We just want to see where the mum goes, and then we can make our decision from there. So, and I'm just going to move on to my knees. Sorry. Yes, sir. Like this, so I can just have a look and see where she is as we speak. Now, she's just currently behind us, and she's... So she's just scanning in the back. Oh, she's just gone and laid down. So at least we can stay here for a little while longer, see if these youngsters come out. But I think while we're doing that, we're going to send you back to David with that leopard.
Well, we've just come around the other side of this tree to see if we can get a better look at Kuchava, but still can't see her face, just big tummy, looks nice and full. Had a little look around to see if the cub was visible, but I didn't see anything. Sure, it's just hiding somewhere in the long grass, having a nap. As is Kuchava, as are the hyena. Everyone is having a nap. Not too much action at the moment. It's amazing how good these hyenas' sense of smell is there. That drag mark we followed for, it was quite a long drag mark. It crossed 2 roads, a couple 100 meters. These hyena, they miss nothing. They obviously cruising down to the dam to have a drink. They picked up the smell of Kuchava and that kill and followed it like a highway of lights just to the base of this tree. Their noses are incredible. here, age 8, you've asked, how do leopard avoid eating poisonous snakes? You may have heard that leopard have occasionally eaten snakes. Although it's not a common prey species, it's not common on their menu or in their diet, it does happen. I have heard of leopard eating python, which are not venomous. I can't recall an experience or having read or heard of leopard eating other kinds of snakes, but I'm sure it has happened. But you're asking, how do they avoid eating the dangerous ones, the ones that have venom that could potentially kill them? And I do not know how they know. Maybe they have instinct into knowing which snakes not to catch. Most of the snakes out here wouldn't hurt them. There are a handful that would. And perhaps those snakes are so aggressive that the leopard instinctively know not to try and catch them. Maybe they do. Maybe leopard have eaten black mamba and puff adder in the past. I have never heard of it, but I wouldn't put it past them. And if they were to have done that, it would have first been quite a trick to kill that snake without getting bitten. And if they could get that right, then as long as they ate the body, they should be fine. The venom is only in the head, behind the fangs. And technically, if you ingest venom, if you swallow it, it can't hurt you. It'll be neutralized in your stomach. But it is risky because if there's a cut in your mouth, then that venom could theoretically get into your bloodstream. But good question, very interesting question. I'm going to look that up, see if there's any record of leopard eating venomous snakes. It would be a risk though, at the end of the day. Adele, you've asked, how long will a leopard sit on a kill? Well, generally, they don't sit right on top of it like she's doing. But I know that's not what you mean. I mean, you are asking how long will it be in this tree with this kill. It'll be here until the meat is finished, which will probably be another day, I would imagine. They will leave the carcass generally after their first feed to go and maybe get some water. But that's a nice thing about being a leopard. You can put it up in the tree where hyena can't get to it or other predators. So they can return at their leisure until the meat is finished. So Adele, until the meat is finished, she'll be here. Or until another leopard comes and steals it. The male in the vicinity may pick up on the scent, and if that happens, he'll jump into this tree and grab that impala. Every so often they'll share, but not normally. Well, it sounds like Dylan is back with his furry friends that like to stand up and tall. Let's send you over to Swalu and see what's happening.
So we've just managed to follow the Ngala group, the ones that we saw leaving the burrow, and they're actually very, very close to the road now, about 30 yards off the road. There's one just ahead of us still as well, but they're actually foraging now. So you'll occasionally see the adults digging at something, and then a youngster will come trotting over, hoping that the adult actually pulls something out that they can eat. They're already quite adept at foraging for themselves, even at this age, and they're about 8 weeks, give or take, now. So they're not super skilled, but they're learning a lot now, and they'll be getting quite a bit of their food, by themselves. But if an adult digs out a big worm or a scorpion, they're going to be onto it in an absolute flash. They won't miss an opportunity like that. And you see how as they move, they put their little tail up as a visual signal. So they can actually just keep tabs on where the other ones are, where they're going. It's fun watching how the youngsters just keep following the adults around. GDH. So within a group like this, you'll have one dominant male and one dominant female. But it's actually the female that dominates the group. So it's called a matriarchal society, a matriarchal system. And she really determines where the group's going to go during the day, which burrow systems they're using. When she's close to giving birth or having pups, she'll select the burrow system that she's comfortable with. And she maintains law and order in that. She also actually prevents any of the other females in the group from breeding. If you get a large group of meerkats, let's say 20 or 30 animals, you can get other females that will actually take an opportunity of mating with males and having pups. But that matriarch, that dominant female, if she actually gets an opportunity, she'll try kill those pups. So she really maintains a tight rein over her group. Now you must think as well that as that group gets bigger and bigger, if food is good and she has a litter every year, or sometimes even twice a year, well, that group will just get larger and larger and larger. So the question is, well, what happens? I mean, there's got to be a cut-off point. And I mentioned earlier that the largest group, to my knowledge, on record is about 52 animals. At some point, they've got to start dispersing. And what typically happens is they go off in ones and twos, males, females together, and they can actually, those dispersal groups, occasionally you can get them trying to join another group, and that can be quite a long process. Or if you get a little group of males that has moved off, a little group of females, they can join up and then form a new group. And obviously when that new group forms, there'll be a bit of a internal struggle as to who takes over that group as the matriarch, the dominant male and the dominant female in that group. But they look after each other super, super well. We've seen, years ago, we had one that was bitten by a venomous snake, a puff adder. And for 2 weeks, that animal was down the burrow, and the rest of the group actually just kept on feeding it, and it survived. So in some ways similar to a pack of wild dogs, where you got the dominant male and female, and even an injured dog, the rest of the pack will keep on looking after it to help it survive. So the youngsters are still quite playful, are they? Running around and doing their thing there. It is a lot of meerkats, eh? And like I said, this is still a very average sized group for swallow. I mean, I've seen groups of over 20. And when you're trying to watch a group like that, you never know where to look at, because they kind of just spread out, and like one's digging up a scorpion there, another one's climbing a tree to do sentry duty, other ones are playing. It's really entertaining to watch. And what I just mentioned there is, you don't think of meerkats as being able to climb very well, but they're actually quite adept at it. And that bush that they're standing at, it's what we call a shepherd's tree, and that kind of scraggly branch, lots of little twigs and things for them to get a foothold on. You'll actually get the sentries. They'll climb all the way through a tree like that and perch right on the very, very top, in order for them to better be able to keep an eye out for danger. And you see how alert, there's that one in the front that's not foraging, it's just sitting watching, just keeping an eye open for any kind of danger that may be in the area. They're moving further and further and further away from us slowly. They're not worried about the vehicle at all, but it's just their foraging route is obviously heading out, taking them in that direction today. So while we continue with them, let's head over to David and see what they've got on that side.
much happening on this end. Still a very sleepy Kuchava. Hyena's getting up. We're going to find some shade to lie in. Must be tired of waiting around. I did see some stomach contents on the ground. So those stomach contents of the Impala dropped sometime in the evening, and the hyena devoured the skin, left the contents. Devoured the stomach, I should say. Gemma, you say that is a cute nose. I don't know if you're referring to the hyena or the gorgeous Kuchava, but they both have cute noses. I really like those whiskers. Nice to see in the light. Those white whiskers of Kuchava. She seems very content. Megan, you say nice glare. Do you think she's glaring at us, maybe? Let me sleep in peace. Stop talking. Nah, she's not at all worried. She is very happy and comfortable up in her tree. Makes one just want to scratch her head and scratch her behind the ear. But that would not end well for your hand. Little pink spot on the front of her nose. Well, Dylan seems to be finding lots of interesting things this morning. Sounds like he's caught up to some gemsbok. Let's go have a look and see what they're up to.
So we've just pulled up at a waterhole, and when we got here, something I've never seen personally, the gemsbok was actually standing in the middle of the waterhole, and as we came over the rise, it's a bit of a blind rise getting up onto the wall there. The gemsbok was standing in the middle of the water, and he just ran out. So unfortunately we missed that. But what we do have is we've got a lot of sand grouse coming in that are coming in to drink now. They're going to be very, very difficult to actually get a good shot of, but we'll see if we can do it. But you may every now and again hear them calling. So they're dropping in on the far side of the dam now. They've just gone out. So what they'll do So they make this beautiful sound going, Kalkivane, Kalkivane, Kalkivane. Or the other one is chocolate, 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 the Birchall sandgrass and the Namakwa sandgrass. And here's some coming over now. This is I'm really making it difficult for Yandra because these birds are really challenging to get when they're flying in like this. And what they do, these birds, they can come in from 70, 80 kilometers away to get water. And what they do is they don't nest in groups. So you'll get pairs that can nest quite far apart. But early in the mornings, they start coming into water. And as they're approaching the waterholes from a distance, they start forming these small groups. So you'll get the twos, the pairs joining up, and forming this bigger, and they'll keep circling around. And the reason for that is they ideally want to escape predation. So by circling around and joining a bigger group, they'll start understanding, okay, is there a Lana falcon in the area? Is there a predator lying close to the waterhole? And once they're satisfied that, okay, the coast is clear, they'll come in, land, drink, and then they'll go. But over the next couple of weeks, I want to show you something really special with the sandgrass, but we'll be lucky. I think let's head over to David with Katava and that amazing interaction that they got going there. And we're just going to spend some more time here at the waterhole.
It's been a wonderful morning. And this is just a lovely way to end our sunrise safari. We are out here on the Chitwa property, Greater Kruger National Park, this beautiful wilderness area that is vast and open, allowing animals to move freely. And be completely natural in their habitat. This is a very natural leopard doing exactly what she does. Resting on her kill. It was dinner, now it's breakfast. And it may even be lunch, and it may even be tonight's dinner. Well, we thank you for watching this morning safari. We look forward to this afternoon. Until then, wherever you are in the world, that's a cheers from Alex and I.